Welcome everyone to SRF Weekend Warriors presented by RaceVoice. We have no end of very special treats for you today. Not only is it Valentine's Day, but we're racing at the Chiesa della Corsa, the Church of Racing, Imola. If you have followed your racing history at all, you know what has happened here. Triumph, tragedy. It sends chills up and down your spine. In terms of triumphs, however, on production today is none other than the legend, the Crassus of the cameras, Signore Marco Barbanera. And by my side today, a special treat, none other than one of our very own weekend warriors, Mr. Larry Lefty Il Sinistra McLeod. Larry, thrilled to have you with us. What can we expect from today's race?
Hey, Jim, I am super thrilled to be here. What a better way to be able to have a chance to call this. And right here at Imola, fantastic track for racing a Spec Ford. This track is complicated. It's technical. It's so difficult. These giant sausage curbs come up and bang these cars around, but there's just enough straightaways for drafts to come into play. There's going to be strategy. There's going to be side-by-side. This is going to be a fantastic day for Spec Ford racing.
No question about it, and we always have so much great racing up and down the timing tower in this league. I think today's race is going to be absolutely something special. We're just looking at some practice time, clicking down to 10 minutes there. Really quickly, I want to say thank you so much to RaceVoice for sponsoring this series. RaceVoice is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the Weekend Warrior Spec Racer Ford Racing Series. Take your driving to the next level with on-track audible performance alerts with RaceVoice and RaceVoiceSIM. You can hear miles per hour, your turn entry and exit speeds, upshift alerts, and other performance metrics which are selected and configured by you. I need this badly, Larry. Go faster with the speed of voice. Thank you so much, RaceVoice. Plus, Weekend Warriors get 50% off annual sim pricing using the promo code of WW50. Check them out at www.racevoice.com. Thanks again, guys.
Absolutely. Gotta love that sponsor. They're really what helped keep this series going. I know I've been running this series. If you don't know me, I've been in this series, one of these drivers for now a couple of years. Love this series. It's great racing, but we don't do this without a great sponsor like RaceVoice. So we really appreciate their involvement to be able to keep the series going.
You bet. All right. Well, practice is winding down. Really quickly, there is our man David Bohm driving along. Maybe we should look at some points. Do we have some championship points, Marco? Perfect.
It has been one really close championship. It's been kind of a bit of a quick start out to the start of the championship this year. I know the couple of early rounds there have been tough there with, once we get those points up there. Aeronam was really quick early and had the early lead out there, but Austin Winter has been quick of late to really get those rounds and have tightened up quite a bit to this championship.
Yes, indeed. Almost more exciting than Spec 1 is Spec 2. If we can have a look at the Spec 2 standings, there's Aaron Vagley on the top of those, followed by Miro Hraski, Claudio Vacalebre in third place. You can see not very many points separating them at all the way down to Gradwell and Shook. Wow, I thought Shook was in Spec 1. Shows what I know. Simon Mayer and Thomas Renders, of course. And wow, it is going to be a great race today in all of those different classes. Or, of course, I say all, but we're talking about two. Now, let's see here. Yes, practice is just about to wind down, so we should have a race shortly as we see Gilbert getting himself back on track there. Who knows what happened?
Yeah, this place will bite you. This place has got the downhill braking zones. It's got a lot of those tall curbs I mentioned. This place is a 1X nightmare. If you're trying to get yourself a clean race, it's going to be really impossible. It's just tough. It's tough to stay clean, and when you're doing it side by side, it's going to make it's such a challenge. But that's part of the fun of this. I think we're going to see a couple of groups break away out front. Maybe a group of 3 or 4 might be able to break away. But that middle of the field is just going to be a lot of fun to watch.
You bet. Well, here is your grid. No surprise to see Rafael Berbagal in P1. He's got Iro Nam for company there. They're followed by David Bohm in P3. A great qualifying result for Bohm, who's got Winner for company on row 2. They are followed by David Gaspers and Maurizio Naselli. No surprise for either of those, and no surprise to see Florence Arabian and Dan Sadro in 7 and 8. They're followed by Jeff Fritcher and Jörg Manny in 9th and 10th, Tim Van Dormelen and Michael Dobek all the way down in P12. They are followed by last year's Spec 2 winner Antonio Reis and Sergio Durelli. I'm not sure we've seen him before, the Argentinian. Great to have you. Followed by Mick Carr, Antonio Jobert, Miro Hraski, Ken Batley, Stephen Elson, Nico Shook, Ian Haycock, Stephen Beardsley, Ed Doherty, and The man, the myth, the legend, Jerry McAreevy. Great to see you, Jerry. He is followed, of course, by Claudio Vacalebre, Paulo Breme, Thomas Renders, Josh Arnold, Yuri Cox, Flavio Andalo, Yost Simpkins, Ian Gibson, Carter Hutcherson, and Stevie Ray. Thank you for all your hard work, Stevie Ray, in setting all of this up. He is followed by Mark Gehan and Tom Gradwell in 36th place, who is followed by Adam Bradshaw in 37th. Johan Butinga, Chris Georgiandelis, Paul Jackson, Jeff Cantor, Jeff Jacobson, Paul Barbutza, Stephen Mitchell, Brett Nordstrom, Justin Huffman, David Swig, and Patrick Moore in 48th. As we see the cars rolling out there, we've got Arthur Grant in 49th and Andres Bertoni in 71st position.
And we've seen Bertoni do this before. Bertoni is one of the faster ones. He always likes to start near the back to make that hard charger. We'll see if he can do that again here in this really tough field.
Well, here goes Burbigal around Ravazza 2. We will be crossing the start-finish line. Nam looks like he's going to need to pick it up just a little bit to take his earned pole P2 position. We will be starting any moment now. Lights should come on any second. You can see Winner is all over the gearbox of Iro Nam there. He might be ready to push him all the way down to Tamburello. And let's see how Burbigal handles it. He's got a little bit of a gap now. What happens as he goes across the start-finish straight? And we are racing, and it looks like Bohm is doing everything he can to push, maybe not entirely under the deck lid of Burbigal, but they're managing to get around Tamburello safely, I hope. Horns Arabian there all the way down. Winner slotting into 4th place. It looks like Gaspers might have been challenging Naselli just a little bit there as they were navigating those turns. Gaspers having a look at the inside of Naselli, but not close enough to do it. Burbigal with a little bit of a gap as we're heading down to the hairpin. I've forgotten once again how to talk. Bohm having a look at the outside of Nam, not fast enough quite yet to do it. Now he's going to look at the inside of Nam at Tosa and will head up the hill. That was a pretty brave move on cold tires with a cold track, Larry.
Yeah, and for Bohm, he'll do this all day long. He's not really much of a patient driver. He will race. And you can see Winner is going to stay in behind him and kind of watch this, where Aero Nam, Aero will fight inch to inch, but he'll do it smartly. He'll not want to lose Burbigal here in this type of a draft track. Burbigal would love to see the fighting behind him if he can as we go through Aqua Minerale for the first time.
Yeah, gosh, that is a terrible place to have any kind of thing go wrong, Aqua Minerale. You can very easily pick up 1X there, and if you get on the outside of the track at all, you are going around, you're going to be in that beach, and it's going to be a long time.
Yeah, it's not just a 1X. If you go just a little bit wide there, it's not just a 1X, you'll actually get a slowdown penalty as well, as already there's Gaspers wide there at the Aqua Variante Alta, and with some damage, that is not good already here on lap 1 for Gaspers.
Yeah, very troubled. Well, he's trying to get back on track without getting in anybody else's line is Gaspers, but he's going to have to be careful not to find himself in the wall at
That car is not driving straight at all. He's looking at him crab walking there. He's going to need to get himself a new car there.
Let's see what happened to Gaspers. Here is the replay. He has a look at the inside of Naselli and just, he went all over the curb at the inside of Variante Alta there.
And Arabian behind him had nowhere to go and tapped into him, but I think a lot of it was just Gaspers doing it to himself there on that really tall curbs. I've talked about that as we were kind of warming up. Those curbs are deadly tall.
No question about it. Nam here taking over the lead of the race. Not sure he'll be able to hang on to it, but we'll see what happens. Burbigal is able to take it back over, and Bohm is still all over the rear of Nam's car, making things even more complicated for Nam.
And Naselli trying to get around Winner back there as they all kind of backed up behind this Nam and Bohm battle for second. But they all straighten out there as we get on down through the Variante Villeneuve.
Yeah, Villeneuve, it's a great place to go off track if my results are anything to go by.
It's a really tough track. You get so many downhill braking and so many crests and blind crests. This place just got really tough place to keep it clean and to stay on this track, as it looks like Gaspers is going to rejoin with a fresh car. He will have to stop again, way too early for a fuel stop for Gaspers.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be annoyed. He certainly has a lot of pace and a lot of skill in that car, does Gaspers, so he might be able to make something happen. We'll certainly have some retirements. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but...
he hasn't run many races this season. You didn't see him in the point standing there. He decided early on he wasn't going to run, but he does love this track. He did want to run here with this front group, so he wants to try and mix it up with the group here later in the race and just see how far up the field he can make it.
Well, Naselli was able to just close up a little bit of a gap to Winner there. Rafael Burbigal using every bit of the track and then some at the exit of Variante Alta there.
It's
And
strange here to pick up a 1X. Sometimes you would think, oh, that's got to be an off track, and then you realize, you see how wide he's going? It's not a 1X until you're almost to the grass coming on the exit there at the Alta chicane.
well, down we go into Ravazza, and cars off the track.
And
I think there
already
must have been
Bradshaw spinning
Must have been a coming together of some kind there.
with Guillen going around him, and he's got a pretty heavily damaged car as well.
We'll get a look at the replay here. Let's see what happened. Is that Stevie Ray that got into a little bit of trouble there? Well, we don't know. Well, here are your leaders. Nam now leading Burbigal with Bohm all over the rear of Burbigal's car. Burbigal not in a great position. He takes a lot of curb. You know, we saw him taking a whole lot of curb at Charlotte as well, didn't we? He said he had his setup really high.
He must be able to handle that. But also there, what he was trying to do was you don't want to let one guy by. He was willing to let Nam get through. He was not willing to let Bohm go, because when you start letting two by, you lose your momentum coming through the rest of that, coming out of that chicane. And that's really, that first chicane is very critical for exit speed. So he was just trying to let one without letting two.
Well, here we are riding with Sadro, looking at the rear of Naselli's car. And who do we have? Well, a lot of very well-known names to us, all the way down to P10. We've certainly seen these guys do a lot of racing together.
A lot of fuel saving going on right now. Every time I look at Sadra, I know that he's running a serious fuel saving strategy. This guy tends to always be the one with the quick fuel stops. He and Winner always with the quick fuel stops. And you watch Sadra, he'll sit here and he'll play in sixth early through this race and just short shifting and play in that draft. And you watch late in the race, he'll be the one with the short fuel stop.
Yeah, he has had a little bit of bad luck, does Sadro, every now and then. I guess I always remember that because, as we just saw, his helmet has got that frowny face with Rowe after it for Sadro. Here's battle here Doherty.
With Doherty and McAreevy.
Wow.
Up on Nico. This is a tough
Now
move.
they're going to get shook. Oh, no! That's Beardsley, I think, going around.
It is, yes. But he's out of the way, at least of the field, coming through the chicane now.
Yeah, very polite spin on Beardsley's part. He got out of everybody's way. Well done to him. Well, speaking of looking at a little bit down the timing tower, let's have a look at our Spec 2 results. It looks like Hrasky is currently in the lead of Spec 2. Spec 2 cars, of course, have numbers over 200. It looks like Shook will be in P3, followed by Renders. So no surprise there. Is Vagley in the race today? Our Spec 2 leader? I don't see him.
I don't recall seeing him in the field today.
Well, I'm sure wherever he is, he's thinking about this race at this moment. Perhaps he's watching on YouTube.
We do get drops in this series, so it is a best 9, or I guess with the Road America might end up being a best 8 series. So perhaps this will end up being one of his drops. But it is, as you mentioned earlier when you were into the points, very, very tight there in the Spec 2 standings. Oh,
yeah.
Look at Ed. Ed, big spin there going through that first chicane. Can't use that much curb.
Yeah, look, I like sausage as much as anybody else, but that was a little too much.
Oh, big spin there. That's George Angelis. Now look at it's also that Tamburello chicane, I believe, as he's right back on the track in front of Swig.
Wow, Nordstrom big winner here.
Absolutely. As things got backed up there with Swig having to hit the brakes hard for George Angelis coming back on the track.
So let's see. This is a pass attempt on Stevie Ray, I think. That's Stevie Ray in that number 11 car there. Oh,
contact.
A little taparoo.
Yeah,
and Stevie Ray off track on the inside as well.
As that trailing car, you just got to really watch that. These things draft well even through the corners. You've really got to watch your speed through that corner. Everybody's a little bit different pace.
Man, unbelievable to see how much curb. I'm sorry to interrupt, Larry, but just unbelievable to see how much curb Burbigal is taking.
Yeah. He's right up and over, especially the entry curb in these things, because you can get off the gas, and as you get back on it, on that entry curb, you can use the weight balance of that front to rear on the gas. So by the time you hit the second curb, the weight's already over the back end. You're not going to lose it as much.
Well, this is probably the most important section of the track here, Ravazza 2. If you get a good run, you get a whole lot of speed headed down to Tamburello. I just know it's a place where I tend to lose a lot of speed, so...
I love watching, though, in this part, though, how much draft can you get between the Ravazza 2 and the start-finish line? Because as we wind down the race, it'll be determining, can you make a pass from Ravazza 2 to the start-finish, or do you have to make that pass going into Ravazza 1?
Yeah, well, downhill braking zone into Ravazza 1, as you mentioned a little bit earlier.
Totally treacherous, yes.
Yeah. Really, really scary. Great place to go off and lose the car. This car, of course, does love to rotate, which makes it a lot of fun to drive. Well, it's a lot of fun when other people are rotating off track. Not so much fun when you're doing it yourself. And of course, in order to get this car stopped, we usually run the brake bias pretty far forward. Here is Gaspers. What's happened to him? Surely he hasn't had some second misfortune.
I'm starting to think he has.
Oh, no. There was a stopped car in the middle of the track. Just nothing Gaspers could do about that. That was the number 64 machine.
He's just had a rough day, gone from bad to worse for David Gaspers, who we know is one of the quickest drivers anywhere in the world in one of these cars. He's just right up there with Berbagal and Nam and these guys, just having a rough day.
Yeah, well, he, as I recall, he had some pretty good luck last season at the championship finish at Spa. I recall he won that race, unless I'm very much mistaken, which is also possible.
I believe he did win that race. That is certainly one of his favorite tracks, as he's danced circles around me on that track before. But here at Imola, not the same.
Well, we're just about to finish up our 5th lap. As we finish up our 10th minute, here go the train of leaders down into Ravazza 1, this downhill braking zone. And we'll see how they do. It seems to me that the train is kind of able to catch up. It seems to me that as we go through that chicane there at Variante Alta, it seems like Berbagal picks up a little bit of time, but then the group is able to close back up through Ravazza.
Yeah, Berbagal's gotten very good. As you kept talking about how much curb he's taking, it's given him an advantage coming out of there. He does gain about a car length or two coming out of there, which if he's able to use that late in the race, gives him that advantage of not being passed going into, as we've got Reese making a move there. But it gives the advantage of not getting passed going into the Ravazza. As Simpkins here had a little trouble down the front straight, coming off of Ravazza.
That is no way to go into the pits, my friend. But he will.
Well, if he can save some fuel, this is not too early. He's just right on the cusp of making it to the end of the race on a fuel stop. So he'd come in, take the free car, full load of fuel. This might just make it.
Yeah, well, we certainly have a varying series of strategies on track, don't we? Let's have a quick look once more at our Spec 2 standings. Looks very similar to the way it was before. Hraski leading Spec 2 in the number 205 machine. You can see here he is being challenged by Elson in the 56 car. Elson had a... Wow, this is, I think, the 3rd livery we've seen Elson run in this series.
I like this one.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks like a Jaguar or an E-Type.
The BRG livery, yeah.
Yeah. Or a Lotus, maybe. Well, who knows? But anyway, BRM, says Marco. Thank you.
Like a
Brabham. Yeah, well, that's another
It's a British racing green with the yellow stripe. I love it.
Yeah, well, it's not a proper Brabham unless it has a vacuum attached to the bottom of it, is it?
But you see here, he's getting a run. Watch Elson get the run there, coming up out of Aqua Minerale. Is it enough to get to the side-by-side? Not quite enough.
Man, when you really nail Aqua Minerale down there, it is just the most amazing feeling.
So rewarding.
But there's also that feeling of, boy, I just nailed that, and next thing you know, you're in the wall.
Yep. So here we get a little battle. It looks like Bohm now trying to challenge Nam for second. Nam able to get a better run out of the second Ravazza down to the front straight. But it is definitely tight between them as this front pack now is down to about now 5 with a little bit of a gap to Sadro in 6th, but the top 8 now breaking away from 9th and 10th.
Yeah, well, this is something that we see pretty often, don't we? As Berbagal sets the fastest lap of the race, a 2:05.5. My fastest lap at this track in this car, more like a 2:11, if that gives you any idea how good these guys are.
Well, keep in mind, they qualified at a 2:04.8 with a draft in front. Now, Berbagal is doing this with no one in front pulling him. He's maybe getting a little bit of push draft from behind. But notice that Nam's got a little bit of damage on the back of him, so that's some of that little bit of bumper stuff going on into the chicanes there. And not sure if that was from Bohm behind him or if that was from earlier, but it's got a little bit chippy there here at the front of the field in Spec Fords.
Yeah, now, Larry, tell me, if you are on track right now, you're running with these guys. Beardsley off again. Goodness, Beardsley. Get back on the track, son. Stay on the black stuff. Larry, if you're running in this, let's say you're running in this front group, you get to pick which driver do you think would benefit most from an early stop and who would benefit most from letting it go a little bit?
From an early stop might be Nam. He's one who's got pace by himself. he could easily get himself out of this, and if he thinks that Bone behind him is a bit more of a threat to kind of make a dive bomb, you could see Nam making a pit stop out of sequence, and we've seen him do that before. He does tend to stop on the 20-minute mark, come and go. I could see him doing that. Waiting a little longer, I could see Sadro waiting until the absolute last minute. He and Winner both I could see being the last ones to come and go. They tend to like the last splash and dash fuel stop right at that 31 minute fuel time mark. So I could see them waiting until the very end. They tend to like to wait in this draft train as long as they possibly can.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? As I recall, when we were talking to Winner last week, or possibly 2 weeks ago, I think he was saying about his pit stop strategy that he just likes to wing it. So,
he does. But it's part of how you almost have to, though. You can't always just plan, I'm going to stop on this point, at start of the race. You've got to do a little bit of thought process of, is it too early? Is it the right time? Am I in a battle? Am I not? Is this a better situation now than if I were to pit? Because right now the problem is if you do pull yourself out of this train, you come back in the middle of a very slow train. And if that slow train slows you up by 1 second on one lap, and then you get a good lap, and then 2 laps later another 1 second. We just lost 2 seconds to the leaders that you're actually fighting with, and that's where you end up with losing your pace out. If you're Nam, you might be able to get away with that if you think you're fast enough through traffic. So right now he might bide his time, but don't be surprised if he's the first one of this group to pull in. I could even see Mauricio Naselli doing the same thing. The rest of these guys, I would suspect, especially Florence Arabian, Sadro, and Winner, to stay in this train as long as they can.
Well, it'll be interesting. The pit window should open before too terribly long, I would think.
It's
and
open,
here we see.
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, now here we see the leaders contacting their first back marker of the race, unless I am mistaken. That is Breme in the 555 machine running in Spec 2. And I wonder where they'll probably... I feel like probably the first couple of cars, as we see them navigating Aqua Naturella there, I feel like some of the first cars in this train is now having a little look at the outside of Burbigal. No. But if we catch them just right, this whole train might be able to get past between Ravazza 2 and Tamburello. That'd probably be the most preferred place to pass, I would think.
I would expect that, yeah. And I think if Paulo's watching his relatives, he's going to have to. It's a pretty long train, as we've talked about. It's now up to about a 8 car for this first 3 seconds of first to 8th. Everyone's within a second of each other, the car in front of them. So Paulo's going to probably have to do a pretty hard lift to let them by. But really, that's the right thing to do. A lot of blue flag waving in front of him. And if you ever want to know if the pit window's open, look at Steve Ray. Steve Ray has made his pit stop. That's when you know the pit lane's open.
Oh, dear. It's the 36 machine of Arnold just off the track there. That looked like the exit of Marianta Alta. And Beardsley, once again, off the track.
Yeah, he's struggling with these tall curbs. It seems to be every single one where there's a tall curb, he seems to be hitting it. Oh,
challenge for the lead. Nam has passed Burbigal, and Bohm is going to have a look at Burbigal as well. Burbigal trying to give, it looks like Tamburello there, trying to give Bohm room to race. Bohm is able to slide his car past Burbigal's Winner, now all over the rear of Burbigal's car, and Nam with a little bit of a gap. So these guys are going to have to deal with Nam. With Bohm. He's certainly making himself a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely, and a good opportunity there for Nam to make that pass, but and then with the opportunity right behind him for Bohm to try and slip inside as well. Burbigal now having to fight a little bit.
Well, what a race this is shaping up to be. These guys always put on such a good show. This field, I just want to let me give you a little bit of a reference here. Although we have 50 guys on track, 50 different cars on track, the times are not there. The slowest guy currently racing today would be winning the some of the lower splits, maybe not the top split, but every one of these drivers very, very good and very close.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's a very people don't quite understand how good this Weekend Warriors series is and the talent that runs this. You see, like you talked about, the guys that are currently running in, let's say 22nd through 30th, that middle of the field. They're all running in the top split public races and their podium in those races most of the week long. This is a quality field. The front of this field, they'll run 1 or 2 public races a week, and that's all they'll run. You won't see them a lot in the public races. They'll run that strength of field race on Monday nights, U.S. Eastern Time, or the midnight GMT race Tuesday morning, and then you won't see them very much. But the rest of the field, they'll run all week long, and they'll be running top split. They're just fantastic. They're really good to race with, and that's just top to bottom in this entire weekend Warriors field. It's great racing.
I happen to end up in a split with Fritcher this week, who is currently running in P8. I believe his I rating is in the 4,000 or 5,000s. Mine, of course, more in the 1,000s.
Fritcher was on pole for the race that I was in, yes.
Fritcher did indeed win that.
Yep.
There you can see Burwell only a B license. That's surprising to me, but a 6,000, 7,000 for Nam. Of course, the previous series winner. So yeah, these guys are no slouches.
Yeah, Nam, when I joined our Apex Racing broadcast team, I jumped into the Rick Motec series that we broadcast on Monday nights, and he was dominating in the Mustangs and one of the other cars there on the Rick Motec series. So when I heard he was jumping back here in the Spec Fords, I was a bit excited to be able to race against him, knowing how good he was in there, and he has not let me down at all. He is as good as they get here in the Spec Fords.
Well, here we go, clicking over our 20th minute of racing in just a few seconds out of a 40-minute race. So I would expect to see more cars pitting now. It looks like Carr might have pitted. Haraski, it looks like he's gone into the pits. Possibly, well, it says that he's pitted once anyway. But here is the battle between, who are we looking at? That was Doherty, and here's Gibson has gotten himself into the wall there. Yeah, a lot of apologizing on the driver chat.
Oh, yes. A lot of questionable re-entries going on today.
Oh, dear. There was a questionable exit for you and a questionable re-entry there on Gibson's part, and that is how he found himself in the wall. Unfortunate. Once these cars start to go around, you know, when you see these guys driving, they're so good. It looks like these cars are so smooth and predictable, but they are not. If you get, as we see there, that's the 007 machine. Oh, no, that's Race. Oh, no. Race getting tagged a couple of times. Who was that? Manny.
York Manny, yeah. It's tough. You go around. The cars are so loose in the middle of that equipment around. That's the whole point of that corner is you brake real late, you chuck it sideways, and you hope it grabs right at that dip. And if it doesn't, you're going around.
Yeah. Well, so easy to lose these cars. Here we are at the front of the field. Berbigal once again in the lead of the race, followed by Nam and Bohm. I wonder what happened there. Perhaps Nam had a little bit of a bobble. Everybody's car looks more or less clean, except for Nam's deck lid, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and so back in this order, Berbigal back in front, Nam back to second, brought Bohm right as we were about 4 laps ago. This is go back to, and a little bit of a dip there for Bohm. But I would not be surprised here at some point to see someone like Nam come in for that early stop. But let's kind of wait and see if something like that happens or if they stay in lockstep and all come in as a train, which would make it really interesting from a commentator's perspective.
Well, a bunch of cars in the rear into the pits. Rays, Manny, Haycox, Gibson. Of course, we just saw him taking a shortcut to the pits by way of one of the walls.
Pits are busy.
Pits are definitely busy, and as is the track. Aquaman Rally once again. That was a pretty savage move on the part of Nam there. He must have been a little bit worried about picking up a 1X or going a little bit off. You don't often see a car move that quickly. As Berbigal is going to dance his way over the sausage curbs once more. And there he is, picking up that little bit of a lead.
He just gets on the gas so early. Essentially, you make that turn in. Once you're on the brakes, you chuck the car a little sideways, and as soon as the car takes that set on turn in, you're back on the gas earlier than you even realize when you're watching it from the outside. But you're on that gas extremely early while the car is still rotating to the right and staying on the gas as you rotate back to the left all the way through the exit. It's just amazing how early you want to get on the gas in this car.
Unbelievable to see the skill with which these guys are handling these cars. You know, again, if I were to try something like that, I just hearing you talk about how how it's done, I would attempt it. But there are so many, so many points there where you can easily lose the car. You know, if you lift off too quickly or too much brake or too much steering input, very easy to send these cars around. So to see him driven so smoothly by this train all the way down to Fritcher, it's really a sight.
Yeah, somebody once described auto racing as managing weight transfer. And I think driving the Spec Ford is an absolute, watching these guys, it's a display of of the greatest skill in managing that weight transfer. Because when done properly, the amount of speed that you can carry is just, 10 times more. It's almost, it seems, than done improperly. And you watch these guys; they'll get the car rotated, that weight will transfer to the outside, and suddenly they're on that power earlier. And when we don't have that much power, that little bit, that momentum really carries through. It's such a huge difference. This isn't just a point and shoot kind of car. You've got to carry all you can. So getting the weight transferred allows you to do that.
Yep, and kind of really crazy as we see him navigating Villeneuve here. But it's so hard to keep these cars fast, but not go too fast and send yourself off track. McAreevy,
missed my good friend Jerry McAreevy out there. I'm sure he's singing a little song right now in front of Mr. Renders and Shook there, also behind him.
So he sings in English, right? Not like Scots Gaelic.
He sings in everything. I've heard some Scottish tunes come out of him, but I've definitely heard some American rock songs also in his day. And
God, I have got to get hip. I have not heard McAreevy sing yet.
He does take requests, so if you do catch him in your iRacing session, you can ask him. He'll sing to requests. He's like karaoke on the fly. Sure.
Well, let's see if anybody dips into the pits here. Anybody out of this lead train? Doesn't look like it. I believe I saw everybody still on track all the way back to Fritcher. There he is, coming into the bottom of your screen. Just a little bit of gap up to Arabian.
Fritcher's starting to lose that pole just a little bit. He's on the verge of that 9/10. You get outside of a full second, now we go 3 wide into 1.
Wow, it looked for a moment there, just as you said, we all got very excited. We heard Marco we just heard Marco, our producer, and our ears go, ooh. So I assume that's what got him excited. It got all of us excited as well. You don't normally see cars attempt a 3-wide navigation of turn 1 in Imola, but well, stranger things have happened, I suppose.
Yeah, if anything, that just helped Mr. Fritcher at the back of this train, because that just slowed everybody up just that little bit. Fritcher's like, oh, thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, here he is on the rear of, yeah, absolutely, all under the rear of Arabian's car. Now, we've seen some absolutely bonkers finishes in this series. I'm thinking in terms of the finish we had at Charlotte a couple of weeks ago. That was Arabian, Naselli, and Bohm, and Nam, I believe, was involved in that as well. But just a bonkers finish. So we could see as we wind down.
Finish at Road America that I actually was kind of halfway a part of, where the top was like this. We had a train of about 8 or 9 running that entire race, and I think in the end, the top 5, whatever, shifted positions on the last 2 laps as we all played nice. Well, we had a lot of jostling going on, but the last couple laps just got crazy. And I'm curious at what point do the gloves come off here after the fuel stops?
Yeah, exactly. That was a great finish. We were sort of, it seemed to me, Nam was kind of waiting, and then he attempted his hero move at turn 5 there at Road America. I don't think it exactly panned out for him. But it wouldn't surprise me. Here's Bergergal with his little bit of a gap on the field after his sausage curb.
He's so good on the brakes. You just watch that car just dance on the brakes faster and better than a lot of the other drivers. I know that I cannot brake it. We got our first fuel stops, half the field.
Everybody into the pits. Bohm and Winners stay out, as does Sadro. Well, it's a party in the pits.
Let's see, because again, this is not an automatic process. You got to hold your own speed limiter, and then you got to stop your fuel loading by yourself. So it'll be interesting to see how much fuel everybody takes as they all come in. Does the order here change?
Will also be interesting to see where they come out. This big train, I guess, will maybe come out ahead of McAreevy. We'll see. Well, Naselli first away. Nam gets away well. It looks like it's going to be Nam, Bergergal, then Naselli coming out of the pits. We just had a shot of Winner there. Maybe Arabian at the head of this train. Let's see how they come out. It's Nam, followed by Bergergal, followed by Naselli, followed by Arabian as they come out of the pits.
Nam, the big winner there, able to jump past Bergergal. But behind them, I think Arabian's got to make sure he stays on point coming out of the pits, or he's going to lose this draft.
Yeah, I think an unfortunate series of events for Fritcher there. He's now got more than a second gap, I think, up to Dobek. So Fritcher's got to be annoyed about that.
Yeah, there Arabian may have lost that train. Right now, it looks like that 3, and then the 3 that stayed out, this Winner, Bohm, and Sadro train. And 2 of these 3 I kind of suspected would stay out there. I thought maybe Arabian would stay with him, and he chose to come in. But these 3 now have caught traffic, and that might have been the reason why the other train decided to pit, afraid of getting caught in this.
Yeah, I don't think it's really played well for them, has it? As they've, just as you mentioned, they've caught this sort of booger of cars as they're all headed down into Ravazza 1. Boom, all over the rear of Winner's car, and a little bit of a tricky downhill braking zone here into Ravazza 1.
One of the hardest braking zones, I think, in all of iRacing, because it's deceivingly downhill. It doesn't look like it, and then suddenly you're on the brakes, and it's just impossible to threshold. All 3 of these are going to brake together.
Yep, into the pits, and I think that might have been Manny at the rear of that group as well. Headed into the pits. Let me see. No, Dorelli. Excuse me. So here are your sort of provisional leaders. That's Nam, Berbigal, and Naselli all together. Ahead of them are Makarivi and Renders. Makarivi, if he stays out, will be leading this. No, he won't. I was going to say he'd be leading the race if he gets past, if he doesn't go in. We'll see what Makarivi does. And of course he pits. So
Winner has been sitting out of the middle of that pack. He could be able to take, he's always been really good on fuel. He could be able to take less fuel than the others, but they're all moving together as a train.
Yeah, well, Bohm has gotten, and they will come out ahead. So it'll be a drag race down to turn 1. Nam and Berbigal have the speed. Berbigal on the inside of Nam. This will be a braking contest, and I think Berbigal is going to win. He slots in front of Nam. So Berbigal, Nam, Naselli, Bohm, and Winner are your lead pack after the pits. And there are Sadro and Arabian.
Was Foreign's Arabian, who was able to catch the back of that draft train. I don't know if he's going to be able to leap 6 people to catch up to the front here, but he's able to at least kind of maintain pace. But the one that really did probably the most good there might have been Naselli, who was able to get around Bohm, and Bohm, who was running 3rd, now back to 4th.
Yeah, and a little bit of gap from Naselli back to Bohm, and Bohm now has Winner to deal with. Winner, it's my impression, tell me what you think, Larry, but it's my impression that Winner is the kind of guy who sort of a Prost sort of a style of driver. He kind of plays his cards close to his chest and then lets loose toward the end of the race. Do you think that's accurate?
He's a very patient racer. Yeah, he's patient enough where he knows that it's a 40-minute race. He knows that you don't win the races on turn 1, and he will wait his turn. He knows that if you could be in the top 10 in the first quarter of the race, the top 5 in the second quarter, the top 3 in the third quarter of the race, you can make this up in the end. That's I think you watch him. He's very patient that way. Except when we all ran the race at Road America, and we were all on the same comms, and we said, this isn't for points, right? As we all went down the back straight the first time, we said, let's put on a good show. And he was the first one that went dive bombing into 5 on the first corner. But that was kind of, we all knew what was going on. In this race, though, this is a little bit more for keeps. As
Dorelli
a little trouble there. Coming out of the sorry, out the outside.
Just hearing from our producer Marco that something has happened to Miro Hraski. Here he is in the number 205 machine. Of course, he was leading I believe he was leading Spec 2. And let me just check. I don't recall.
Renders now in the lead in Spec 2?
Hraski in second place in the Spec 2 championship. So this could very well turn into one of his drop races.
Yeah, I think Renders now in the race has the Spec 2 lead.
Well done to you, Renders, followed by Hutcherson and Shook and Simpkins. What a race this has turned out to be. Always a show up and down the timing tower. I'm sorry not to see you on track today, Larry, but of course we've benefited greatly from your commentary since you know these guys and these tracks in this car so well.
Absolutely thrilled to be able to do this. I've been looking forward to doing one of these, and one of these days. It just popped up this week, and sorry Dane couldn't make it, but glad I was able to fill in for him. This is just a thrill to be able to. I do wish I was running with this group. I'd like to think I'd be running with this group, but my pace isn't as good this week as these guys. But so you wouldn't see me on camera with this group. These guys are just flying around this place.
Well, you'd be having a great race back there. I'm guessing Race, Batley, Makarivi, that sort of an era.
Maybe. Those guys are quick today, too. But this group in front is just putting on a show. These guys are still running in the 205s, low 206s. It's just incredible.
Well, you just get a look at who is the big winner so far today. Hutcherson has gained 14 places, running in 19th currently. Renders gained 10, Cox gained 13. So if you don't have a great sort of a start, but you just hang out, you can gain a lot of places over the course of a race, especially if you can race clean and keep the car on the black stuff.
So have you noticed here that Bohm has gotten back around to Sully as we are back in the order that we were in for so long for this race? And so Naselli, if he wants to win this, is going to have to start making moves. We've got probably around, let's call it about 4 laps to go or so.
Well, you just got to love looking out at a racetrack and seeing, knowing that any one of these guys in this top group, maybe certainly all the way back to Arabian, if not Dobek, as we see Winner set the fastest lap of the race so far at a 2:05.1. Any of these people capable of winning this race, every one of these guys has the pace. So anything can happen.
Just 3 laps to go, which takes a lap away if you're trying to move up positions. And I would say Winner right now, being 4 positions away from the top, isn't going to be able to get this done. Unfortunately for him, Naselli, he's got to pass 3 cars. He's got to be doing it every other corner at this point. He's got to be making a move. At this point, I think it's a 3-horse race. Everyone's got to put their patience aside and start making moves with just 3 laps to go.
Well, you're certainly, you definitely know what you're talking about. No question about that. But we're only talking about a second plus of track time, even all the way up to the front from where we are riding on board with Winner. And we know that on the final lap of this race, anything can happen. Cars hit one another. They go bouncing over sausage curbs. So anything could happen towards the sharp part of this race.
What's going to make this harder for everybody behind him is Berbagal's ability to come out of that Variante Alta with all that momentum as he's shown every single lap, which means that takes away a passing zone down into Ravazza. So everybody else knows if you're going to make a pass for the lead, you have to do it somewhere else, probably going into 1. You're only going to get 2 more chances going into Tamburello.
Yeah, great point. Boy, it's been great to have you on the broadcast, as I just said a moment ago. But yeah, that's a great point. Because Berbagal does so well through this portion of the track right here, as we look rearward from Berbagal's car, we see the gap that he's got on Nam. Just coming through that Variante Alta, he takes so much curb. He's just able to handle it.
This is about as close as we've seen anybody to him at 3/10. But even still, you can't make a pass on 3/10.
Little mistake for Berbagal there between Ravazza 1 and 2. And that might mean
Bohm is going to make a move here if he can get up close enough to Nam. Bohm is this wild card. He's always known as a little bit more of a risk taker. I would not be surprised now if he goes and gets a run and sticks his nose inside of Nam here with just 2 laps to go.
Nam it looks to me like attempting to cover him off to get as close as he can to Berbagal, but Bohm indeed is going to have a look at the outside of Nam here, and Nam, I think, just let it breathe a little bit and let him go. Now, Bohm taking a lot of sausage curb. He's slow. But will not be able to make anything of it. No, but Winner on the inside of Bohm. Naselli looks like he's trying to push his way through. 2 wide. Oh, no, Winner goes around. Nam off the track. Naselli loses. Nam regains. Winner is in a different county.
Nam's going to take a slowdown penalty because he had to cut that course to avoid the accident. And this is all working in Berbagal's favor there as things got crazy going 3 wide there in between the 2 chicanes. Berbagal now just has to clean it up for about a lap and a half. It's going to be a race for second between Bohm, Arabian, Sadro, and Nam.
Let's have a look at that once more. Look at all these cars together. Naselli all just almost in the same car as Winner, doing everything he can to get to the Winner brakes. Naselli into the rear of Winner's car. Bohm gives Naselli a little tap as well.
Yeah, Naselli did not anticipate the braking that early. No one ever breaks down the inside of there because no one ever takes that inside line, unfortunately, for both Naselli and Winner. That takes them out of this fight. But we do have a fight on for second with Bohm, Arabian, Sadro, and Nam. This foursome, there's only 2 of these spots available for podiums. And right now, Bohm and Arabian are in those spots. Remember, Arabian had fallen so far back in the lead pack from the pit stops, he only got back in because the second group came out and stuck themselves in between there. Now he's got a shot at the podium, and he's going to be making a pass here on Bohm, possibly down into Ravazza, or he's going to have to do it down into 1.
Yeah, I am surprised. I thought exactly like you said that we were going to see Arabian attempt to pass in the braking zone into Ravazza 1, but it looks like he will try to go perhaps the slightly safer route, although Bohm gets a run out of Ravazza 2. and looks like he'll have a little bit of a lead on Arabian, but Arabian will have plenty of time to close that up, even though Arabian's got Sadro all over him. Sadro is going to have a look at the inside of Arabian, might be able to take them both. Here we go, three wide.
And Nam's looking at this, look at his chops going, I think these three will take themselves out. Let's see.
Very likely Bohm inside Sadro. Bohm does not want to repeat the last lap, gives Sadro only just enough room, but now we are slow as we head down to Villeneuve, and Arabian getting away.
Arabian, yeah, he got a great run there with the side-by-side there with Sadro and Bohm, and now Nam going to try and go the side-by-side. He's going to stay ahead of Sadro, but now he's got work to do to get ahead of Bohm.
Well, Bohm currently running in the last of the podium places. Arabian looking a little bit slow through Tosa there. I guess he had a little bit of a line issue. Arabian now off the track, will rejoin ahead of Bohm, but he will be slow. Bohm should be able to close that gap up and maybe try something. Well, I guess his next, down into.
He's going to have to go into the Variante Alta. If he's going to do it, either going into there if he can get a run here coming out of the Aqua Minerale, or it's going to have to be going into Ravazza, because Berbagal has this thing a 3-second lead.
Yep, here we are looking at the front of Bohm's car. It's looking a little bit beat up. He is closing up on Arabian. Arabian takes a lot of curbs, sort of the Berbagal line there.
It worked for him. Look at that, though. Look at the gap he's able to pull.
Yeah, he really did get a little bit of a gap, which he desperately needed to protect himself from just a crazy pass down in here into Ravazza 1. Bohm doesn't look like he is close enough to try anything of the sort. Here is your race leader and most likely race winner, because he's navigated all the turns. He's swooping back and forth across the track is Rafael Berbagal. He better be careful. Bohm back there looking at the inside of Arabian. I wonder if he will be able to make anything of the race to the line. Berbagal across the finish line, as is Arabian, as is Bohm, Nam, Sadro, and Naselli. Naselli and Winner, unfortunate losers there in that mix-up at Tamburello. Dobek and Fritcher across the finish line. It looks like Renders will be your Spec 2 winner in the 641 machine.
He's got Shook right behind him. They aren't far apart, but that is your Spec 2 first and second, running virtually nose to tail now, going through Ravazza.
What a race, Larry.
Absolutely. Even the Spec 2 is coming right down to the last couple of corners, but that last 2 laps there for the top group, unbelievable, going 3 wide between Tamburello and the Villeneuve chicanes. Unbelievable. Unfortunately, some contact, but still great racing, as always, here in the Weekend Warrior Spec Racer Ford.
Well, you said it. We have great racing from these guys every week. This has got to be one of the best, if not, I'm going to go ahead and say it, Larry, best racing league on the service. And it's thanks very much to this guy right here running in the 11 machine, Stevie Ray. He does. If you've never set up a league, let me tell you what a pain in the hindquarters it is. And Stevie Ray puts a lot of effort into it. He's the man we have to thank for all of this fun. Him and our sponsor, of course, RaceVoice. Thank you so much, guys. I just get such a charge out of this every week, Larry.
Yeah, the racing is just second to none. Every single time out, you could just get to see the skill, the strategy, the chess match play out. And the skill for the driving, the car control. We were just talking about how Rafa Berbagal at the front was just so precise every lap after lap. And for the moment that he had lost that lead, 2 laps later, oh look, he's right back in the front. And then the crowd behind him just staying with him, and their precision and their ability to race side by side. It's entertaining, but it's just at the absolute best skill on display. I love it. I love racing with these guys. These guys are just so much fun.
Yeah, they are a ball, and they do lots of crazy, just for fun races during the week too, like running these cars at dirt tracks and stuff like that, or with crazy fog.
Yes, there is the Saturday night. Nobody knows until the sessions open. Random, could be dirt, could be ovals, who knows, kind of races that Steve Ray sets up, and that's a blast too. But everybody looks forward to the Sunday Weekend Warriors, and that's really the highlight of the week. And next week it'll be Montreal at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and looking forward to that one as well.
Yeah, long straights at Villeneuve as we see the demo derby begin. Here are your results. We just saw him take the win of this race. Rafael Berbagal, congratulations to him. He is followed by Arabian, who won that battle for second place. There's Van Dormelen in the background there, having a bit of a crash. And of course, David Bohm in the third podium position, followed by Nam, Sadro, Naselli, Winner, Dobek, Fritcher, and Sergio Durelli. Well done to Sergio Durelli. I'm not familiar with him, the Argentinian, but there he is.
He's been fast. He hasn't raced maybe this season very much, but I'm telling you, he has been right up in the front in past seasons. He's extremely fast. So hopefully he sticks around again for a few more races.
Yeah, great race. Well done to you, Durelli. He is followed by Van Dormelen, Jalbert Race, Macarivi, Manny, Batley, Cox, and Renders. Who won Spec 2? That is Renders in P18 overall, followed by Shook and Simpkins. So congratulations to those guys. It wouldn't surprise me at all, Larry, to see Renders moved up into Spec 1 next year.
Yeah. Usually if you, when your iRating gets over 3,000, or if you win the Spec 2, normally you bump up to Spec 1. So it's kind of the congratulations. Now, go race with the higher rank.
Well, it happened to race, did it?
It did.
Well, we have a couple of guys waiting
I may have
for...
done that as well a couple of years ago as well, so I know how that goes.
We have a couple of guys waiting for interviews here. It looks like we have our second place, Forens Arabian, waiting for an interview. Let's drag him on in here. Forens, how are you? Congratulations on your finish.
Thank you. I'm a little surprised.
How so? You look so confident on track.
At the start, I was a little startled with David losing it in the chicane, and I picked up some damage. So my plan was basically to save as much fuel and try to get a shorter pit stop. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah, I was just going to ask a little bit more about your pit strategy just as you were starting to talk about it. So I apologize for interrupting you.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was hoping I would gain a few spots. I was driving really conservatively at the back of the pack, and early shifting, less throttle, and just missed out on the draft coming out of the pit stop. I was 1.5, 1.4, and within the first corner, each of the leaders, they packed up, and I lost the draft at that point.
So talk us through. So after that happened, that was you pitted pretty late, if I'm not mistaken. But then so you're running in what, 7th, 8th place, something like that.
Correct, 7th place.
And then as we head into the very end of the race, you can feel that something is probably going to happen with those leaders headed down into Tamburello. So how did that go? How did you end up in second place?
On my mind at that point was I was losing Daniel Sadro, and I was losing his draft, and I'm going to just finish my race by myself. But all of a sudden, I could see in front 3-4 cars wide, and then there was a spread of smoke and cars flying everywhere, and that's where I just went for it and went on the inside of Arrow and was able to keep it from Daniel from passing me. David was easy to pass afterwards. He had no draft, and I had his draft.
Gotcha. Well, congratulations on your finish. P2 is nothing to sneeze at, especially when you're racing with a field this strong. So congratulations on your finish. Anything further you'd like to add?
No, nothing much. Just thank you, Carolina. Happy Valentine's Day. We actually went to the track yesterday, and I had a bad moment where my two rocker arms on my engine blew up. So I'm back here to race today, and I'm happy for a good ending.
Ooh, that's scary. Yeah, well, that can certainly go terribly wrong if you lose rocker arms. You lose a valve, especially if you drop it down into the cylinder. That can go very badly, very fast. Well, thank you so much. Again, congratulations on your second place finish, Forens Arabian. That was your second place finisher today, and often at the front of the field, Forens Arabian. Well, I would like to get another interview, but it looks like we are out of time. So I think we will just say we're looking forward so much to next week. Larry, thank you so much for joining us today. Any quick wrap up of the race?
I think this was an incredible race. Shows all the skill set that the Spec Razor Ford Weekend Warriors has to offer. It shows chess match, shows skills, shows it's entertaining. And I just, if I'm not racing in it, I'm glad I was calling it.
Absolutely. Well, we were so glad you were here. Thank you once again to RaceVoice series sponsor. Thank you to Stevie Ray what a race. I said it was going to be special, and it absolutely was. Cut. I couldn't have asked for anything better. Looking forward to next week. I get a charge out of this series so much. I have been Jim Hodson. Thank you so much to my co-commentator, Larry McLeod. And of course, in the production booth, Mr. Marco Barbonero. We will see you next week.